The day they marked, Grandma's oak for death. The first sign of trouble arrived on a Tuesday morning in late spring, when the air still carried the sweet promise of blooming dogwoods and the neighborhood streets were quiet except for the distant hum of lawnmowers. I was 28, fresh out of a soul-crushing corporate job in the city, and had moved back to Willow Creek to help my grandmother, Evelyn Harper, manage the old family homestead on Maple Lane. The house had stood since 1918, a sturdy craftsman, with wide porches and a backyard that sloped gently toward a massive, ancient oak tree that had anchored the property for over a century. Its trunk was wider than three men standing shoulder to shoulder, its branches sprawling like the arms of an old god, heavy with moss and memory. Grandma called it Sentinel. She had grown up climbing its lower limbs, had her first kiss beneath its shade in 1954 and buried her husband, my grandfather, under its roots in 1989. That tree wasn't just wood and leaves. It was family. I was in the kitchen that morning, pouring coffee, when Grandma shuffled in from the porch, her face pale beneath the silver curls she still pinned up every day. In her hand was a neon orange, notice stapled to a wooden stake that had been driven into the front lawn overnight. The paper fluttered like a death flag. I took it from her trembling fingers and read the bold black letters. Property line adjustment and tree removal notification. Willow Creek HOA. Approved 6-2 vote. The document claimed the oak's trunk, sat 4 feet over the official boundary line, and that the board had unanimously decided, minus one abstention, to remove it to make way for expanded guest parking near the community clubhouse. A chainsaw date was set for June 15th. Less than 3 weeks away. Grandma didn't cry. She just stared out the window toward Sentinel, her lips pressed thin. I felt something ignite in my chest. Hot, sharp, protective. The HOA had been a nagging presence for years, fining residents for unapproved mailboxes or grass that dared grow past 3 inches. But this was theft. They weren't just taking a tree. They were erasing history, legacy, the last living witness to my family's century on this land. I spent the rest of the day digging through the HOA's online portal, printing every meeting minute, every email, blast, every poorly scanned PDF of bylaws they'd uploaded since 2015. The president, Harold Whitcomb, a retired car dealership owner with a comb-over and a perpetual scowl, had pushed the parking expansion for 2 years. His signature was on every motion. The vice president, Marlene Kensington, known to everyone as HOA Karen, had seconded it. Marlene lived 3 houses down in a beige McMansion with plastic lions guarding her driveway. She'd once reported Grandma for hanging wind chimes that exceeded decibel limits. This was personal. By nightfall, I had a stack of documents 2 inches thick and a plan forming. I called a surveyor I knew from college, begged him to come out pro bono, and started researching arborists, property law, and historic tree ordinances. The HOA thought they could steamroll an 82-year-old widow and her unemployed grandson. They had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I drove to the county clerk's office and requested every plat map, deed, and survey filed for 1427 Maple Lane since 1900. The clerk, a kind woman named Dolores who remembered my grandfather, pulled dusty folders from the back. That's when I found it, a hand-inked survey from 1923, commissioned when the original developer subdivided the land. The oak was clearly marked, Oak 36 DIA. Center line of tree designated as eastern boundary. Harper family retains full ownership. The HOA's official line was based on a 1998 resurvey done after a flood, one that had shifted the pins 2 feet west without anyone noticing. They'd been using the wrong map for 27 years. I photocopied everything, stamped it, certified, and slid it into a manila envelope. This wasn't just a mistake. This was fraud. The chainsaw crew arrives. Early June 1st dawned humid and overcast, the kind of day where the air sticks to your skin and tempers flare without warning. I was in the backyard with Grandma, spreading. mulch around her tomato plants when the rumble of diesel engines rolled up Maple Lane. 3 white pickup trucks with Greenscape Solutions stenciled on the doors parked crookedly across the cul-de-sac. Out climbed 6 men in orange vests, chainsaws dangling from their belts like weapons. Behind them, in a gleaming black Escalade, sat Harold Whitcomb and Marlene Kensington, both wearing sunglasses despite the clouds. I dropped the mulch bag and sprinted to the front yard. Grandma followed, slower but determined, her cane tapping the sidewalk like a war drum. The crew leader, a stocky guy with a goatee and a clipboard, was already unhooking a chainsaw when I reached the orange stakes. I planted myself between him and Sentinel. He barely looked up. Harold stepped out of the SUV, adjusting his polo shirt. Marlene stayed inside, filming on her phone through the tinted window. Harold cleared his throat and read from a printed script. The tree was a safety hazard, roots were cracking the clubhouse foundation, removal was non-negotiable. I told him he was on private property and had no authority. He smirked and said the HOA had eminent domain powers under Covenant Clause 14.7. I laughed in his face. Eminent domain is for governments, not glorified neighborhood watch committees. The crew leader revved his saw. The sound ripped through the morning like a scream. Grandma grabbed my arm. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and started live streaming to a private Facebook group I'd created overnight. Save Sentinel Oak, Willow Creek. Within minutes, neighbors were pouring out of their houses. Mrs. Delgado from across the street brought her phone tripod. Mr. Patel started a GoFundMe on the spot. Someone called the local news. Harold's face turned the color of raw steak. He ordered the crew to proceed. The first man stepped over the stakes and triggered the motion sensor I'd installed at 3 a.m. A deafening air horn blared from the garage. The worker dropped his saw. Grandma smiled for the first time in days. Police arrived within 10 minutes. 2 patrol cars, lights flashing. The officers reviewed my certified 1923 survey, then Harold's 1998 map. They told the crew to stand down. Harold sputtered about lawsuits. The officer, a young guy named Ramirez, who'd gone to high school with me, shrugged and said, "Looks like a civil matter. Take it to court." The trucks left with chainsaws unfired. That night, the Facebook group hit 2,000 members. The GoFundMe was at $8,400. A reporter from Channel 7 called for an interview. I uploaded the full confrontation video to YouTube under the title, HOA Tries to Murder 100-Year-Old Tree Gets Shut Down Live. By morning, it had 150,000 views. But Harold and Marlene weren't done. 2 days later, a certified letter arrived. The HOA was suing Evelyn Harper for $42,000 in corrective landscaping fees and demanding immediate tree removal or foreclosure. They'd attached liens to the property. Grandma sat at the kitchen table and cried for the first time since Grandpa died. I called my old college roommate, now a property attorney in Atlanta. He flew in that weekend. We built a war room in the dining room, whiteboards, timelines, evidence binders. We filed a countersuit for fraud, trespass, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We requested an emergency injunction to halt any tree removal. The judge granted it within 48 hours. The HOA's next move came fast. They scheduled a special assessment vote to fund their legal defense, $500 per household. Half the neighborhood revolted. Petitions circulated. Yard signs sprouted. Honk if you hate the HOA. Harold's annual 4th of July BBQ was boycotted. Someone TP'd Marlene's plastic lions. The arborist report that changed everything. July heat settled over Willow Creek like a wet blanket. The injunction held, but the liens stayed. Grandma stopped sleeping. I installed security cameras around the oak, 4 of them motion-activated, cloud-backed. Every night I reviewed footage, half expecting Harold to sneak in with a hacksaw. Our attorney Marcus hired Dr. Lillian Park, a PhD arborist and certified tree risk assessor with a resume longer than my arm. She arrived in a battered Subaru with a ladder strapped to the roof and a toolkit that looked like it belonged in a surgery. For 3 days, she climbed Sentinel, drilled core samples, measured root spread, and ran soil tests. On the fourth day, she delivered her 42-page report in person. The findings were devastating for the HOA. Sentinel was not just healthy, it was exceptional. Carbon dating confirmed it had germinated in 1812. Its root system stabilized a 200-foot radius of topsoil, preventing erosion into the nearby creek. Its canopy sequestered 1,800 pounds of CO2 annually, and most crucially, 68% of the trunk and 94% of the root plate sat on Harper property per the 1923 survey. The 1998 map was not just wrong, it had been altered. Someone had whited out the original oak symbol and redraw the line in pencil. Dr. Park included magnified scans. Marcus nearly danced. We amended our countersuit to include criminal fraud and requested punitive damages. We subpoenaed the HOA's surveying firm, a now-defunct company owned by Harold's brother-in-law. The paper trail led to a P.O. box in Panama. The HOA responded by hiring their own expert, a landscaper with a YouTube channel and no credentials. His report claimed the tree was imminently hazardous and needed removal within 30 days. He posted a TikTok dramatic reenactment with sad violin music. It got 12 likes. Our YouTube channel, now at 800,000 subscribers, uploaded Dr. Park's full report with animated overlays showing the fraud. The video title, HOA Caught Faking Survey to Steal 200-Year-Old Tree Proof. It hit 3 million views in a week. National News picked it up. The Arbor Day Foundation sent a preservation grant. A GoFundMe for legal fees topped $150,000. Then came the death threats. Anonymous emails calling Grandma a selfish hag. A brick through the living room window with "cut it or else" scrawled in sharpener. I upgraded to bulletproof glass and hired off-duty cops for night patrols. The trial date was set for September 12th. Discovery began. We requested every HOA email, text, and bank record since 2018. They fought every subpoena. The judge wasn't amused. The deposition that broke Marlene August crawled by in a haze of legal briefs and heat lightning. Grandma started baking again, lemon bars, oatmeal raisin, her famous peach cobbler, and delivered them to neighbors who'd signed affidavits supporting us. The street became a fortress of loyalty. Someone installed a wooden carved sign at the base of Sentinel. Protected by community love, touch and face justice. Discovery produced gold. The HOA's server backup revealed an email chain from 2021, Harold to the board. Subject line, Oak Tree Solution. He'd written, "If we move the pins 2 feet and get a new survey, we can claim eminent domain for parking." Harper's too old to fight? Marlene replied, "Do it. I'll handle the paperwork." Another email attached a scanned 1998 survey, with the oak symbol clearly visible before it was altered. We deposed Marlene first. The courtroom was packed, neighbors, reporters, a sketch artist from the local paper. She wore a pastel blazer and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. Marcus played the email chain on a projector. Marlene claimed she didn't recall sending it. Then he showed her text messages to the surveyor. "Make the tree disappear on paper. Bill me personally." She went pale. The judge ordered her phone seized. Harold's deposition was worse. He rambled about community needs and progress, then accidentally admitted the parking lot was for a planned Starbucks franchise he'd secretly invested in. The courtroom gasped. The judge's eyebrows nearly vanished into his hairline. Our final witness was the original 1923 surveyor's granddaughter, now 89, living in a nursing home in Asheville. She remembered her grandfather telling stories about marking the oak as the Harper boundary because the family had saved his life during the 1918 flu pandemic. She testified via Zoom, voice trembling but clear. The jury, yes, we demanded a jury, leaned forward like they were watching a season finale. The HOA's attorney tried to settle. $250,000 in tree preservation. Marcus laughed and countered, $2 million full ownership transfer of the clubhouse lot and 100 new oaks planted in Sentinel's honor. They refused. Closing arguments were brutal. Marcus projected a photo of Grandma standing beside the tree, her hand on the bark, eyes fierce. He spoke for 20 minutes without notes. The HOA's lawyer stammered through a defense built on technicalities. The jury deliberated for 45 minutes. The $1.2 million judgment and the revenge planting September 13th. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and tension. The jury foreman stood, paper trembling slightly in his hand. Guilty on all counts: fraud, trespass, emotional distress, and conspiracy. Damages? $1.2 million exactly. $800,000 to Evelyn Harper, $400,000 in punitives, plus attorney fees, plus the clubhouse lot deeded to the Harper family revocable trust, plus a permanent injunction against any tree removal within 500 feet of Sentinel, plus a court order requiring the HOA to plant and maintain 100 oak saplings on common land, each tagged with a plaque reading, "In honor of Evelyn Harper and Sentinel, planted by order of justice." Harold's face collapsed like a deflated balloon. Marlene burst into tears, real ones, mascara streaking. The gallery erupted. Grandma squeezed my hand so hard her knuckles went white. Outside, neighbors waiting on the courthouse steps cheered when we emerged. Someone had brought a brass band. A drone flew overhead, dropping biodegradable confetti shaped like acorns. The HOA appealed, of course, but their insurance refused to cover fraud. Bank accounts were frozen. Harold's dealership stock plummeted. Marlene's husband filed for divorce after the Starbucks investment scandal hit the news. Their McMansion went into foreclosure. We didn't wait for the appeal. In October, under a crisp blue sky, the planting began. 100 bur oak saplings, each 6 feet tall, arrived on flatbed trucks donated by a local nursery. Volunteers from 3 states showed up: college kids, retirees, even a minor TikTok celebrity who'd followed the case. Grandma wore her Sunday dress and a sun hat. She broke ground on the first hole herself, dirt flying like victory. I live-streamed the entire event. The video hit 10 million views in 48 hours. Sponsors covered the cost of irrigation systems. The local news ran a week-long series. Sentinel stood watch, unchanged, eternal. The appeal was denied in February. The judgment stood. Grandma used her share to pay off the house, fund a scholarship for botany students, and install a bronze statue of Sentinel in the town square. The clubhouse lot became Harper Park, public, free, with benches carved from fallen branches of the original Oak's cousins. The final reckoning and Grandma's legacy spring returned to Willow Creek. And with it, dogwoods bloomed pink against the green haze of new oak leaves. The saplings thrived. 98 of the 100 survived the first winter, a record according to the arborist. Harold moved to Florida after selling his house at a loss. Marlene's McMansion became a rental, occupied by a young family who painted the door bright blue and never joined the HOA. The board dissolved. A new volunteer-run residents association formed, with bylaws written on a single page. Be kind. Plant trees. Mind your own lawn. Grandma turned 83 in April. We threw a party under Sentinel, string lights in the branches, long tables groaning with food, a bluegrass band playing Sweet Home Alabama, while kids climbed the lower limbs under strict supervision. She wore a crown of oak leaves woven by the scholarship recipients. Someone flew a banner from a drone. Sentinel stands, so does Evelyn. The YouTube channel hit 2 million subscribers. I uploaded a final video, a montage of the trial, the planting, the party, set to Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire. The last shot was Grandma pressing her palm to the oak's bark, whispering something the mic didn't catch. The video ended with text. This channel is retiring. The tree won. Go outside. But the story kept growing. Other neighborhoods contacted us, HOAs trying to seize gardens, pools, even graves. We created a nonprofit, the Sentinel Fund, pro bono lawyers, arborists, surveyors, a toolkit for fighting covenant abuse. Within a year, we'd helped overturn 12 fraudulent liens and saved 7 historic trees. Grandma passed in her sleep the following winter, 2 days after Christmas. She was buried beside Grandpa beneath Sentinel's roots, just as she'd wanted. The funeral was standing room only. The new oaks formed a guard of honor around the grave. I read her favorite poem, Joyce Kilmer's Trees, while snow dusted the branches. The house stayed in the family. I moved in permanently, turned the dining room war room into a library, and hung the 1923 survey in a glass frame above the fireplace. Every spring, I lead tours for school kids, showing them the plaques, the saplings, the spot where the chainsaw crew once stood. They leave acorns in a bowl by the door. Sentinel still stands, wider, taller, unmovable. On quiet nights, if you press your ear to the bark, you can almost hear Grandma laughing.